Welcome to Ike Live. We're here at the 2020 Bassmaster Classic. We have the greatest studio in the history of the world with the Ike Live boat build acting as our studio table.
Our platform.
Our platform. And we've been talking with the greatest anglers in the world and the people that make this sport happen, and this is no different. We've got one of them here with us. Of course, I've got Pat Renwick over on the far side with me, as usual. And I've got Luke Foley with Tin Cup Whiskey, and I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
And I've got one of the greatest anglers of all time, Mr. Dion Hibdon.
Oh my God, it's Dion Hibdon.
It's awful good to see you. I haven't seen you for a few years.
I've been out of it a little bit, that's for sure. Yeah, I've been out doing other things.
Okay.
So,
well, it's great to see you because I saw you at the hotel, and I was psyched to see because this was the stage of my first Bassmaster Classic here at Birmingham. Of course, we fished at Logan Martin, and that was a very special tournament for you.
it wasn't bad. It was pretty good. It wasn't my first, but it was dang sure my best, you know. Yeah, I won that in '97. It was very cool. Logan Martin was very generous to me. Them spotted bass were fun that week. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, we were all chasing, what was it, Hamilton's patterns from the previous year
right.
or previous classic. We were all offshore.
On the do-nothings?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was Chancellor.
Yeah, that's Chancellor.
It was going to be one offshore. We were all thinking that. I practiced that way and got completely sideways. You didn't do that.
I kind of did a little bit. You know, I was the same way. You know, I just knew that's what it was going to take, and needless to say, the aid of a good sports writer the first day, Bill Seibel from St. Louis, kind of got me back on track. You know, I told him, you know, when we took off that morning, I said, you know, I can catch my limit off boat docks in about 15 minutes. And needless to say, about 1:30 in the afternoon, he says, hey, I thought you said you could catch your limit really quick off boat docks. I said, well, I probably can. He says, well, it's 1:30 in the day. Maybe now would be a good time. And luckily enough, went and salvaged the day and caught a couple of good ones to go along with them. So, yeah. So I tried to screw it up.
We do that sometimes, don't we?
Yes.
Well, that win was amazing because it put you and your dad in a class. Were you the first father and son team to win the classic?
I'm pretty sure we're the only father-son, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Who else?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think anybody
There's
else.
nobody else.
There's nobody else. Where's Ken Duke?
Do you guys not? Do you guys not fact check this stuff? Am I the only one? No.
I'm racking my brain, and
Yeah,
for some reason I thought there was one or two more, but I don't think there is.
No, the Browers didn't do it.
There's been several qualify, you know, because Alton and his son have qualified, and way back when Bill and Greg Ward qualified.
Oh, yeah.
Long time ago.
You're going way back.
I'm pretty dang old. I don't know if you know that or not.
I do know that.
I actually go pretty way back, you know. You know, me and Dad actually grew up doing this together, you know. You know, everybody, you know, he fished forever. And, yeah, I started about 6 years after he did. So, yeah, we've been at it a long time. But, yeah, the cool thing about it is Bill and Greg Ward, I still see Bill Ward about once a month.
Is that right?
Yeah. He crappie fishes up on Truman Lake. I see him all the time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
He takes his commission check for making you go fish that dock?
That's right, yeah.
Every month. Well, you and your dad, boy, you did some amazing things in this sport. The Hibdon name is, synonymous with bass fishing. You created lure categories. You did some amazing stuff together.
Yeah, Dad was a unique person in the way that he would really rather make fishing tackle than fish with it. And that's pretty hard for guys like you and me to believe because he's pretty damn good at fishing with it too. You know?
Pretty good.
But he really enjoyed tinkering with tackle and making a better mousetrap. You know, nothing was ever perfect. You know, he was just all the time messing with tackle and trying to make stuff better and different hook angles and stuff like that. And, really, probably a tenth of the stuff that's in this room right here had his fingers in on it somehow, as far as design and stuff like that, just different ideas that he had over the years. And he was that way right up till the day he left us. He's all the time thinking about tackle, and
He's always tinkering.
Always, every minute of the day. When he actually got in a nursing home at the last and stuff, Mom was like, how do we keep him entertained in there? And I took him a jig tying vise, took that in there and a whole bunch of different
That's
stuff.
awesome.
He'd sit around, tie jigs, and pilfer with stuff like that.
Hey, Dion, could you tell the story about, speaking of your dad and tinkering with baits and everything, could you tell the story of the Guido Bug?
Well,
I love it. You remember, Pete?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Tell everybody here at Ike Live about that.
Well, at that point in time, Dad was just getting started in fishing, but he had actually won a BASS at that time. And, he somehow in 5th or 6th grade, something came up to where we had to make something out of the wild, and we were already making our own worms and jigs and stuff like that. And Dad says, I'll just make something out of plaster of Paris.
This was for a school project?
Yeah, for a science school project.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I went and dug around out in the creek and found me 3 or 4 big old crawdads, and I took them home, and I thought, I'll just make me a jig mold out of that, or make me a rubber mold out of that, and did. And, I'm sure the teacher thought I was, insane, but I come packing in some rubber crawdads, and I actually took them to school first, 2 or 3 of them, and Dad had never seen them, and finally the deal got over with, and I brought them home, maybe at the end of that year or whatever, just like a kid brings home his science project. I brought them home, threw them on my desk in my room or something, and Dad comes in, he looks at that, and he's like, wow, that really looked good on the back of a jig. What have I been thinking? And that day that he looked at it, he went out and he says, "You got to go find some more crawdads." And I went to the creek and I found half a dozen more crawdads, and we made the first mold that night. He was so
wow.
He thought, "Holy crap, that's going to catch him," And we did.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
we did.
It did catch him.
Is that one of the first plastic crawdad imitations? Is it?
Next to stuff like Cream made.
Cream,
them little Cream in the pack.
Creature Cream.
Yeah,
they
were
frog
really natural.
And the crawdad.
Yes. Yeah, the grasshopper and
yes,
stuff like
yes.
that. You can still buy them at Walmart, same way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was one of the first crawdads, one of the soft ones, first soft one. It and the Jean LaRue, as far as I know, were the first even attempts at crawfish.
Absolutely.
The Guido Bug.
Yep.
And the Guido Bug was like everybody had them.
You had to.
Yeah.
You had to have a Guido Bug.
I mean, I caught my first jig fish with that Guido Bug trailer.
Yep. Yeah, at one point in time, we thought the Japanese were eating them or something.
I
don't know why. I don't know why they had so many, but I mean, they would call and order that stuff from at that time Lucky Strike, and I'm like, holy crap, what are they doing with these things? But we liked it. We was glad they were.
Oh, sure,
yeah.
Absolutely.
But anyways, it's the neat thing about it is its longevity. I mean, now there's a dozen different copies and stuff like that, and like I say, it's pretty cool to get to look at that, and see that that's something that we actually came up with.
It's history, Guido.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bass history.
Yeah,
Yes,
your dad was great. He was an amazing angler. You were an amazing angler. But I kind of got to know your dad a little bit later, toward when I saw him out on tour, and he was great. Him and your mom were they're just terrific folks. When you meet them, they're just so kind and generous to you, and they give you guidance and they make you feel warm. It's always been a part of the Hibdons, and I don't know if I've ever told that to you about my experiences with your dad. I wanted more. He's like a father figure, and he was a father figure to a lot of people, wasn't he?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's the neat thing about my dad. He really never met a stranger, and he just wanted, and he would make it way more charismatic than you and I are trying to do. He'd say, "Hell, I just didn't want to see the kids screw up," and that's the way he would come off with it, and the heck of it is, Mom was the same way, He was screwing up over there, and I just had to make sure he didn't mess up, but they were very kind and always have been, and always first to help, and try to make sure everybody's doing the right thing and help people out. If you got a question, the neat thing about Dad, you know, he was the 900-pound gorilla of his time. If you wanted his opinion, he'd give it to you, you know, whether you liked it or not, you know. And but like I said, and that helps. That makes life so much easier when you know exactly what you're dealing with and who you're dealing with, you know. And he was big about, you know, trying to help everybody. So he was a very cool human being, that's for sure.
Well, Absolutely. He passed it on to you. He passed it on to grandkids.
Yeah, absolutely.
We see the Hibdon family continuing,
going strong.
Bunch of great anglers,
bunch of proper bassing men.
What's happening with the Hibdons? What are you guys doing next?
Well, we've started Tin Cup, or not, we haven't started Tin Cup. Tin Cup whiskey out of Colorado. We're working on a promotion there and brewing that up and getting it going. And
it's making my mouth water
right now.
That's right. The whole time. Is it too early to get
it's
into
the Bassmaster Classic, Pete. There's no rules.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I mean, it's got to be. There's international anglers here. They're ready to drink.
Exactly.
But anyways, my best friend Luke Foley here, and when I say best friend, I've known the boy since he was 8 or 9 years old. And luckily enough, he's big in the liquor business, and this is kind of the perfect storm, you know, what's taking place right here with a sponsorship deal. And I've always been pretty fortunate to be able to talk and be a decent, you know, person to help with stuff like that. And we got the right deal going right now with Tin Cup, and you know, I'll let him tell you a little bit about everything, but you know, it's just one of those promotions that doesn't come down the line very often, and I'm glad that I was kind of off, you know, for a little bit to get going with it with him, you know, so it's just it's perfect timing, it's the perfect people, and I think it's going to all work out awesome for the deal.
Well, so, I'm excited for you,
yeah.
Luke. Tell me about the whiskey.
Look how excited he got, Luke. Did you see that? Tell me about the whiskey.
We're always talking about beer on Ike Live, man. I want to talk about whiskey.
We're going to change that moving forward, hopefully. And Dion and I brought you guys some bottles. Because you guys have a lot of people on your show, and you do a lot for the sport, so we figured we'd bring you some presents too. And,
all right.
And, hopefully you can enjoy it back at the hotel, because we ran into you guys at the bar. And
you see how excited Brian the Carpenter got?
He's excited.
Look how excited he got over this, too. Him and Pete. It'll be a good night.
But if we could back up a little bit, you talked about Guido being good to everyone, and he was my hero in life from the time I was 13 years old. And what he said, and I've been working on this, you know, driving around, running my route. I work for Tin Cup in Indiana. I'm an area manager in Indiana. And I've been jotting ideas down and talking to him for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, thinking about it and all that. And I really didn't think about this until about 3 weeks ago, after all this time and effort. This really all stemmed from his dad and my dad. Because his dad told me back when I was very young, he goes, son, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you can't make a cast. You don't ever want to not be able to hit something when you're out there, because the bigger ones will always hide there. You can't be afraid to make that cast. So what he did, I got one of those rods and reels that he would use, and I would get in the hallway. You remember the tennis pins that Bass Pro used to have, that old red can?
Yeah.
And I would cast into that.
Okay.
Well, my dad was also in the liquor business. It's the only thing he's ever done. I got to where I could hit that every time. He was a golfer.
Yeah.
He would putt into a coffee cup, so I'd go into that. And I was like, is there anything smaller around here that we could hit? He goes, well, if you think you're so smart, why don't you try and hit those shot glasses? So I did.
Okay.
Tin Cup has a removable shot glass.
Aha.
All right, let's go.
For practice casting.
Yes. And we're doing it over there in the Loose Strike King booth. But our tagline is, can you cast into a Tin Cup cup? And we do this all over. We've done it at several liquor stores and bars in Indiana. And Indiana was the first test market. And he was kind of the one that brought this up. I really thought when we came up with this, it would be something only outdoorsmen liked. You ought to try and get the rod and reel away from 8 girls in a bachelorette party when the bride's trying to get
Really?
It's yeah, I'm telling you, it's incredible.
I'm more excited about that thing we talked about.
Well, we'll work on that. But this promotion is a neat promotion.
If I would have had this as a teenager, I would have never been anything.
It'd have been trouble. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. Wanting to really get big with the sport. Sponsoring Dion, we're sponsoring Lawson. Looking to grow, add other anglers. I'll tell you a little bit about the whiskey. As Dion said, we're from Colorado. This is our flagship regular tin cup. It's our 4-year-old whiskey. This is our 10-year tin cup. And then we just came out with our brand new tin cup rye. It's 100% rye. And there's a lot of rye whiskeys that are out there, and I got a lot of friends back in Indianapolis that are tremendous bartenders. They call them mixologists. They're very crafty. And they say this is one of the best ryes they've ever had. And I said, put it all aside, our friendship and all that. But they're like, no, this is the best rye that's out there. And we're not that bad. We're not that expensive. We're only like $29.99 for this unbelievable product.
Wow.
And that is a 90 proof, where these two are 84. Like I said, I did this essentially because Guido always told me to make the best cast, and the Hibdon family, I fished for a living for about 7 years, and I always wanted to maybe give back and help them the way they helped me, the way they helped the sport, and by God, we're doing it.
Awesome. There you go.
Man,
yeah.
That's an amazing
Cool
story, and the Hibdon. Guido had such.
I love that you're bringing
everybody.
Guido back into fishing.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Tin Cup.
I'm excited about what's going to happen with the fishing team. Where are you guys? Where can we see you guys competing next year?
Dion and Loss will be in the Costas.
Okay.
I'm going
Right
to. This is kind of something we debuted this at the National Sales Meeting Proximo. We had it in New Orleans. And I got the casting mat out there, and there's some people in the crowd that fish, but some people didn't. And everybody in the world that works for Proximo's there, okay? And our brand manager at the time, she was sitting in the front row. And I got done with the spiel. I did the casting. I talked about how big fishing was. I talked about how big he was. He couldn't make the trip. And I said, how many people want this in their market? And 300 hands went up in the air.
Wow.
And she looks to her left and she looks to her right. She's like, how are we going to do this? It's just the three of us. So we're in the process right now trying to figure it out, possibly looking to add some other anglers because everybody wants to do it. Like Dion said, we did this in Indiana, which doesn't have the best fishing, as you know.
Yeah.
The state managers from Missouri, Alabama, Michigan, Texas,
Go
Florida,
crazy.
California, they're like, we want this in our market. So we're mass producing our casting mat. Hopefully these other states are going to activate it on their own. It's very new. So I'm sorry to answer your question. What am I going to be fishing? I'm going to be more behind the scenes, making sure it's all running right for now.
Yep.
And then maybe in a year or two, I'll get back out there. I'd like to get back out there, but for me right now, I'm very passionate about fishing. I'm very passionate about the liquor business. I love working for Tin Cup. I do. I have never hated getting up and going to work in the morning. I feel truly blessed to work for the company that I work with, and the fact that I have a possibility of doing something with the sport that I love. So if I don't get to compete on the national stage for another year or two, it's not a big deal to me. I want to make sure that this goes right and we get this exactly where it needs to be. And yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. I think it's a perfect fit to go with the pipe smoking dean of the Bass University to be working
with a fine rye.
With a fine rye.
Yeah, a rye by the fireplace. I could see you. Peter Gluszek. Yes.
Well, I look forward to partaking, and thank you guys for coming here. I can't wait to see the Hibdons back out on tour.
Heck yeah.
I mean, the talent there just goes through and through. So, fortunately, I'm not going to be fishing in the same division as you are. So
you never know. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to fish wherever I want when this starts. I'm just going to go fishing and have a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
Then I might see you up in New York a couple times.
You betcha. Absolutely.
I know you love it up there. Well, hey, guys, thanks so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. Guys, we are here at the 2020 Bassmaster Classic. We're talking with the best anglers in the world. We're having a blast doing it.
And we're drinking whiskey.
Drinking whiskey. Amazing stories. And we're going to be back with a lot more. I'm Pete Gluszek.
Pete, can I say one thing?
Live.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, you can.
I just wanted to say, if I could, to Mr. Ike Live, that was an amazing tribute that you said to Guido on TV a couple years ago, and I truly appreciate it. I truly do. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Wow.
That was
that's amazing. Thank you, Ike. And we'll be right back with more Ike Live.